Hello, friends. Today, I'm going to explain how to use Capo to be able to play songs in many situations and also explain different uses of Capo that you might not be using it in those ways to improve your guitar playing. Thank you for joining us today. Without wasting time, let's dive in. All right. So, what is Capo? For those of you who are wondering what Capo is actually a clamp like this. It has a place where you can press and open it, and it can be placed in any of the neck specific frets to create different voicings and to shift keys of the song. So, before diving into the formula, first you need to understand the concept of intervals. What is an interval in guitar fretboard? Simply put, each of the frets you see, which are separated by vertical lines, are actually separated by intervals. And the way it transitions in music is each of this fretboard is actually half step interval. So when I say move from first fret a half step ahead, I move to the second fret. When I say move from first fret a whole step ahead, I move to the third fret. So basically, whole step movement is leave a fret in between or move two frets ahead, and half step movement is just go to the next fret. Now let's come to the musical interval distance between each of the notes. So when we talk about musical notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, these are the primary musical notes. And in these musical notes, there are intervals in between, whether it's a half step or a whole step. Now, to simply remember it, E and B are the only musical note which has a half step jump to the next musical note. Rest all has a whole step jump to the next musical note. When I go from A to B, it's a whole step. When I go from B to C, it's a half step. Remember, only B and E are the musical note which has half step movement to the next musical note. So that is how it goes. When I go from F to G again, it's a whole step. When I go from G to A, it's a whole step. A to B, whole step. But B to C is again a half step. All right. So simply put, B and E are the only musical note. If I want to move to the next note, immediate next note is going to be the primary note. And that is from B to C is a half step, and E to F is a half step. Rest all musical notes, when you move from primary to primary note, it is a whole step jump. Now let's move to the concept of capo. So the simple formula that I'm going to provide you today is to determine what chord shape I want to play and what chord voicing I want to sound it like. So for example, F chord is actually a very difficult chord for any beginner guitar player. And most of the times, when you find songs which are using F chord, you tend to skip it. You're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to play it because F chord is difficult to hold. Well, guess what? Capo can solve this problem. How does it solve it? So remember my formula? Let's say I want to play E chord shape, but I want it to sound like F chord. Now, determine the interval distance between E and F chord. E to F is a half step jump. Half step in guitar is actually just one fret. So I'm going to use my capo and clamp it on my first fret to sound it like a F chord. Let's verify it. So I'm playing my E shape right now because that is what I'm comfortable with. And now let's verify that whether this E shape was actually playing F chord. You see, it's the same sound. Well, let's go get another example to understand. Let's say I want to play the D chord and I want to sound it like a F chord. Now, how do I go about it? So, the same formula. I want to play the D chord. I want to sound it like F chord. The interval between D and F is D to E is a whole step jump. E to F is a half step jump. I've reached my F chord that I want to sound like. So I'm going to clamp my capo on the third fret and I'm going to play the formation of D chord. And this is going to match the sound of my F chord. Now notice, you'll hear the voicing to be different, but the sound or the chord to be same here. Again, Capo 3, playing my D shape. Let's understand this concept a little better with another chord that most of the guitarists find difficult to play. That is the B chord, right? So B is difficult to play, but hey, A might be one of the first chords I learned in my guitar playing, right? So I know how to play A chord, I'm proficient in it, I can switch to A chord, but now I want it to sound like a B chord. Go back to my formula. I want to play A chord, I want it to sound like B chord. A to B is a whole step. So I'm going to place my capo on the second fret and I'm going to play my A shape. This is actually sounding same as my B chord, which I play normally without the capo. Let's say I know to play only the E chord and I want to sound it like a B chord. How do I do that? Well, let's calculate the same formula. I want to play the shape of E. I want to sound it like B. Let's find out the intervals. E to F is a half step, F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step. So that means I'm on my fret 7, where I should clamp my capo on the 7th fret, and then I'm going to play my E shape. This is my E shape. And if I remove this and verify with my B shape, regular B shape, it's the same, right? So you can use this concept for those difficult chords, F and B, and also easy chords. For example, I want to sound like G chord, but I want to play the shape of E. Well, E to F is half step, F to G is whole step. So I'm going to place my capo on the 3rd fret, and then I'm going to play the shape of E, which is actually sounding same as my G here. Fair enough? So my formula remains the same. What chord shape I want to play and what I want it to sound like. Calculate the intervals between those two and put the capo on that fret, and you should be all good. All right, I also promised in the beginning of the video that 3 main uses of the capo. One of the use is actually what we explained, which is transposing songs into different keys. So let's say you are in a band and the band members say that, oh, G is sounding too low. Let's make it A. Well, guess what? G to A is actually just a whole step jump. Put the capo on the 2nd fret and play the same shapes as you played in the original song. It's gonna transpose itself to the key of A from the key of G. That is one use. The second use of the capo is for the voicings. Notice when we put the capo in different frets, we played the same chord, but the voicings were different. Remember when we put the capo on the 7th fret and we played the E chord? That sounded like a B chord, but the voicing was different. The voicing was a little brighter, a little sharper. So at times, when people are bored with the actual open chord sounds, they use capo to basically change the voicing. Let's get this with an example. So let's say I have a song which has a chord progression of A to E and back to A, right? So when I play that, it's going to sound something like this. Now, using the capo, what can I do? I can actually change this song to play just G and D chords, but with the capo. So use my formula. I want to play the shape of G. I want it to sound like A. G to A is one whole step, so I put my capo on the second fret, which is one whole step. And now I'm going to play those G and D chord. Notice the brightness of the sound? Here, it is again with the regular A and E chord. By now, I think you're getting the point, right? You get a brighter sound, you get a different voicing, and that's all it is about. And the third use of the capo is when you basically are learning new chords and you don't understand the shapes of it, you can transition the whole song into the chords you know yourself and are comfortable to play, but you can also match the singer's voice or the vocal pitch with the use of capo easily. So it doesn't need you to relearn the chord progression and the chord switching, but at the same time sound as if you are matching the vocal pitch of the singer. So that's all for today. I think the formula that we learned is identify what chord shape I want to play, what I want it to sound like, get the intervals between those, and put the capo in that respective fret. And then we learned about the three uses. I hope that this is useful for you in your guitar playing. Thank you and have a nice one.